Greetings, Dr. Jeffrey Scott here. This is my Market MRI Pro update for August 5th, 2025. Thought about not doing one tonight because not that much to talk about in this market, as I called it a rather lackluster day. And the economic slowdowns concerns grow. I guess the ISM starting to concern people as it move towards contraction. And so we're really setting up that I think everybody is going to be expecting a rate cut in September. And now the debates will start to go whether it's going to be a 50 basis points or 25 basis points. But if we're not in a recession, and pretty hard to believe that with our GDP, that we'd be in a recession, rate cuts that occur when not in a recession, usually the markets like that. So we'll wait and see. Again, my name is Jeffrey Scott. I'm marketmripro@gmail.com. My Google group is Top Down Trader. And let's take a look at what I saw today. As always, these are for educational purposes only. Nothing that I say should be taken as investment advice. It should all be taken in the spirit of education. I do these to demonstrate how I use my top-down tools. Trading involves risk. You and I are solely responsible for any decisions you make. I may own or intend to buy or sell any stock mentioned in this report. Trading stocks and options should be considered risky. You should always consult with your financial advisor. And I have tools in multiple platforms. Few key earnings after hours. ANET is up 13%. Sky is up 13.3, Lure 11.2, KVYO up 11. IonQ is up 1.5% as Amazon announced that they took a position in there. On the downside, Snap is down 16.2. SMCI disappointed on earnings and is down 15.6%. And Powell, which had been doing pretty darn well, was down 12.4%. So the futures right now, the Nasdaq's down, the diamonds are relatively flat. One of the big winners on earnings as well, which looks like it's up 15% or so, is Astera Labs as well. All right, let's take a look at what we can see. My Google Groups called Top Down Trader. Just go to Google Groups, go to all groups, search for Top Down Trader. Let me know how you want to be contacted. I am going to, in the next 10 days, I'll probably announce it in the next day or so. I have to decide which day I want to do it. We'll do one of my 2-hour Top Down Trading education programs. Also answer any questions you have about the software, and I'll probably only invite the folks in the Google Groups to it. The other thing is, just reminding you all, seats will fill up. Palm Beach Gardens, October 27th and 28th, Marriott Palm Beach Gardens. 2 days of packed with education. Bring an appetite because I'll feed you. Take you on my boat for a cruise on Sunday night that'll be catered. Breakfast and lunch will be included for the meeting. $400 rebates towards any of my tools for attendees. And if you're interested, just contact me at marketmripro@gmail.com. Know your news and earnings. And I guess it was, it was ISM that disappointed today. Nothing scheduled for Wednesday, but lots of earnings. IonQ, I already mentioned. AppLovin, that's been a mover. Duolingo, Shopify, Uber, so a lot before and after the bell on Wednesday. As I say in the lower right-hand corner, that's a judgment call to hold stocks over earnings dates. It's bad judgment to not know when your stock's earnings date is scheduled. Our E-index actually gapped higher today, traded higher, and reversed with the market, but it still closed up 0.5%. So that to me is very bullish. It suggests to me that maybe this thing wants to go higher, and if this wants to go higher, so do the markets. But let's talk more about that. If you have any issues with Market MRI Pro, it's really stabilized with the latest updates. Reach out to Praveen at coding@marketmripro.com. And if you want any questions for me interest in buying the product or more information about my live meeting, marketmripro@gmail.com. All right, so we look at the day that we just had. Volatility was up. Um, the Russell led the markets, was up 0.5%, closing at the top of its daily range. The dollar was flat. The diamonds down 0.15. A spider down zero point 0.5. Q's down 0.68, and Bitcoin was down 1%. If we look at 52-week, new highs minus new lows, down but still positive. NASDAQ down but still positive. If we look at the S&P 500 sectors, leadership was materials, real estate, consumer discretionary, energy, kind of a defensive play. And even though utilities is usually a defensive story, it's really linked now with the energy, electricity generation for the data centers, and it was traded down 1.1% to lead to the downside, closely related to technology, which was down 1.19, and communications, which was down 0.82. If I just look at the number of stocks up today, 53% of the S&P 1500, 48% of the NASDAQ, 58% of the NYSE. Not a horrible day, but a day that started with much more promise, and then the market sold off after that ISM. If we look at the timing model, I'm just going to say no change. The weekly remains in a buy. The daily did not reverse anything, and you can look at the buy sell down here when we get to the daily, but the daily remains in a sell signal. The weekly is in a buy signal. You could see the sell signal over the last several days. If we look at the index ETFs today, we'll just talk about the spider a little bit deeper. You know, this is the prior highs, if I remember correctly, and sometimes resistance can become support. This is the most recent highs that we set, and I'm thinking we might trade in this range for a while, kind of like seasonality is going sideways, and then will we break to the upside or the downside? We won't stay in a trading range forever. Right now, we're in that trading range, and we were down about 0.5%, closing sort of in the middle of the bar from Monday. Volume was up a little bit, not a massive volume day on the NYSE and the NASDAQ. And if we just look at the others, the Qs, similar picture, bouncing around the 17. Natural target would be the 50 if it breaks down. All-time highs of the Qs were set last week, the week before, last week, and then the prior highs were set back here. And similar to the S&P, it would not shock me to pull back and test down here. Could test the 50. And as you could see, for the next month or two, we have relatively flat seasonality. Not horrible, but not conducive or suggesting we're going to get a big rally. If we look at the diamonds, these have not yet hit a new high. So this white line is their old high, and it pulled down to the 50 days and bounced, something that's not surprising. We'll see if the 50 continue to hold support. As I talked about yesterday, my guess was we were going to run up close to this line on each of the indexes and probably fail, have a successful retest, go higher into the end of the year. Right now, all we could say is that we bounced off the 50. Seasonality is relatively sideways here. If we look at the Russell, which has not set a new high as well, and you can see the new high is way above where we are today, pulled back and held at the 50 and 200 complex, traded up a little bit on a bad session in the U.S. markets. Markets were down, so we know VIX was up, and you can see here VIX was up 1.88%. And the U.S. dollar also breaking higher here, which as an equities provider is not great because the equities certainly have enjoyed a weak dollar, but really has it changed that much? No. It's up a little bit, but not markedly. It was up really kind of flat compared to where it closed the prior session. So that's the dollar. If we take a look at commodities, gold opened up, opened low, closed in the middle of the day, did move up higher during the day. It was up 0.08. Silver performed a little bit better, closing near the highs, up 1.18, I believe, 1.09. Oil is pulled back into the 50. Natural gas is dead to me. And we saw further weakening in the 10-year rates and the 30, so bonds improving. So my gestalt at this point is kind of a choppy day, kind of what we'd expect, and if we're going to go sideways for a while. And I do think that that's possible. Not necessarily a bad thing. Give a chance for the market to heal. If I look at the buckets, you'll see that we are further lower now. We're down to 8% where we were 20s and 30s 2 days ago on the stocks at the bottom of the Bollinger Bands, and we're increasing in areas towards the middle. So a shift towards the middle, no signal, not overbought, not oversold. The market breadth shows not a big day in the NYSE. And here's the NASDAQ down a lot more. And if we look here, we could see stocks above the 20 in green, 50 in white, 200 in red actually turn positive. And the new high, new lows are positive on both, as our AD lines positive on the NYSE, still negative on the NASDAQ. Up down volume is positive. I thought we might see a second Hindenburg omen today until I saw the new high, new lows. They're just not big enough. And no new signals down here. And if I looked at the 13-week new high, new low, you could see that it's in the middle of the range at zero point 0.7, 0.54, 0.65, and zero point 0.6. When this gets to be close to 95, it tells me that a reversal to the downside is likely. When it gets below 5, it tells me a reversal to the upside. So I think we are high-low road scenario. High road is we go higher and take new highs from here. Low road is we break lower. And the middle road is we go sideways, and I think will ultimately resolve to the upside. Real strength of the product is this thing I call the JAS layout. You can design whatever layout you want. Those are just my initials, and it's my program. But it's open to for sale, and you can customize it, change the name. Um, I like to look at the market from a top down, so I will go into top down, and then I've got my 3,700 or so stocks are packed into different sectors. And if I look to see which of these sectors are led, I see basic materials, energy, and real estate. Now you might be thinking that's not right. That looks different than the S&P did. Of course it did. This is a very broadly built sectors. Every stock in my universe is got a sector and an industry assigned to it. So we have 621 in these three. Now let's rank industry groups by what performed best, and let's take the top 10. Now I have 173 to look at. Now let's eliminate little things. Anything less than 5 or 500,000 shares gone. Now we're down to 90. So there's 90 things that I would look at if I wanted to look at all the things that were, in these sectors in the top 10 industries. Let's just look. PDW, we know oil services did great, probably had earnings today, and it did. Massive surprise. Um, PE 13, no dividend. It's the kind of thing that likes to go higher. I might put this on a watch list for tomorrow. ATLX, we talked about this one last night. Definitely looks interesting. Lithium is showing some strength. Massive volume 2 days in a row, a break above the 200. Liked it last night, like it here as well. Pump, too far down and it's lower. We talked about gold over the weekend, and gold is roaring. Here's Goldfields, one of the ones that we talked about. Neighbors is another oil services company, too far down. Seadrill, guess what? Another energy stock, oil services. AU, another a gold stock breaking out. Don't know what METC does. I have a feeling it's a coal company. Usually strong looking chart. Eldorado Gold. I own this one. Breakout going higher. ASPI, this is in the uranium space. Core mining, gold, but also has silver, looking to break out here. Another one we like is KGC, Kinross Gulf Gold, continuing to go higher. And then NG Nova Gold. So it looks like we're heavy in gold here. MP is one of the rare earth metals, and this one's breaking out to all-time highs as well. So that's how I start. I think having a gold stock, looking at those oil services makes sense, and maybe the right one's Tidewater with that massive move. Now, we limited ourselves to the top 10 groups. I could kill the sectors, kill the industry groups, rank them by performance over the last 2, 5, or 15 days, 2-day momentum, and we could just look at the top 5 here. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. 124 stocks, volume and price are in, and we can look at what's leading. AMRC looks a lot like that first driller we looked at. Beautiful breakout here. Earnings are out. Massive change. Big surprise. Gotta like that. XMTR, Xometry, also big move on earnings. Helio, NGVT, Sally Beauty, Frim, a water utility or water company. Sim, a big AI player. AI stocks, many of them did well. Sterling Infrastructure, someone's got to build the data centers. Great day. Earnings, big surprise. Surprise on revenue. So there's a lot here of this group. I'm impressed with that pattern in AMRC, but I would go and do some research to know what I was looking at. I never buy it just because I like the fundamentals that I see here. I want to see what they're doing. And my favorite way of looking for stocks, as everybody knows, is to go in here and then just add my 2-day momentum up. And let's just take a look at those and call it quits. HLIO, Helios Technology. Earnings are out, missed earnings, but a surprise. Nice channeling moving up, massive volume, relative directed OBV. Why did it hit the scan? Because I've got 2 momentum signals in a row, and that's been my go-to signal. We had it down here, and we ran up for a few bars. Sometimes we get a long run. Hardly ever goes down in this scenario. Had them here. Really, the market was doing nothing. And then you fast forward 2 bars, you had a big gap up move. So, big fan of these. Sally Beauty Holdings breaking out on earnings. Looked that exciting, except there was a big earnings surprise. SYM, I mentioned this is this is an AI play. Earnings are not out until tomorrow, so we're not going to be worrying about it. And then lastly, KBR, a construction, and you could see a nice move here, taking out the 50 and decent earnings. So KBR looks good. SYM is probably too far gone. And then we looked at a couple other plays that we mentioned. So how am I managing my portfolio? When we're going sideways, I don't become a hero. Didn't buy much today. I took a position in QBTS, nice position, and it was up, so that was good. After I bought it, went up, and I'm waiting for probably for earnings to cash out some of my calls that are deep in the money. I've sold calls against them, creating call spreads. One stock that really, 2 stocks that made a difference for me today, and guess what? They're nuclear stocks, and nuclear. One of the reasons why people like nuclear is because why are you not? Oh, hold on. One of the reasons people like nuclear is because it's another energy source for data centers. Oh, and Oklo. I was like, why is the stock going to the moon today? It went to the moon, and this is where the buy point was, 58 to 60. You had another buy opportunity down here at 44. It went to the moon today because Trump said we're putting a nuclear reactor on the moon to fuel the future. Okay, I'll take it. So Akla was one that did really well for me today. And then another one, which I had originally presented here, which really hasn't done much, Airgan, um, had a nice move, close at the end. So I gave you a lot of names. Be careful here. There's times to lever up, margin up, and be all in. And that's usually near bottoms. April 7th is when I called it. And there's times to be a little more careful. And there'll be plenty of times to buy when the market decides to set new highs and go higher. Don't rush. Don't be a hero. Money management is key. And expect to see significant swings up and down until the market decides where it wants to go. Have a wonderful, wonderful Wednesday and join Top Down Trader so you can find out when I'm doing that live event. And think about coming to Palm Beach Gardens. I guarantee you'll have a positive time with a lot of learnings. And we'll see you soon.